My name is Shirakawa. I would like to thank you very much for having me today.
Once again, we're doing the question series today.
Yes, the series has started.
It's basically become a series now, hasn't it? This time it's about recruitment. It is actually quite common to screen applicants based on academic background, particularly when you look at large corporations. But I feel like that's such a waste. Don't you think? There are probably various advantages. But when it comes to actually working, I don't really think having a certain academic background makes that much of a real difference. What do you think about it?
I think so too.
In society, people say that without academic credentials, it's hard to get a job or change careers using prestigious degrees as easy indicators. However, when actually working, it's more about the academic ability you've acquired through study, which then translates into how you perform your work. I'm not really sure about how it is among peers, but in terms of strengths or the sense of level, maybe it means you can talk on the exact same wavelength. I wonder how it actually is in reality.
I have personally felt that way myself ever since I was a student. But at the very least, one thing that is certain is that people who have put effort into studying, even if it's limited to schoolwork, I think that distinction definitely exists.
By the way, when it comes to hiring, how much do you actually look at academic background?
We hardly look at it. Things like what department someone was in or what kind of field they studied, maybe whether they have some basic knowledge in that area. Of course, if someone has a PhD or a master's degree, that's a different story, but that's about it. Right now there's a labor shortage, so things are different, but it's still a seller's market, and that trend has continued for a while. I guess it's just faster to use filters, isn't it? I mean, I don't really know, but it's tough to look through everything and choose, especially with so many applications.
Some places require aptitude tests or online assessments due to the high volume of applicants.
Yeah, that actually takes more effort, but they end up filtering people out that way.
For individuals without formal academic qualifications, that must have been a really challenging period of time, don't you think?
That's true. Even now, the myth of academic background is still deeply ingrained, especially for those doing the hiring, I think. That goes for both bosses and subordinates nowadays.
People are still mostly judged by things like their academic background or whether they've stayed at one company for a long time, rather than what they can actually do or what skills they have.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct.
I guess that is true. I haven't gone through any job interviews or even submitted a resume myself, so I only know about the current situation from watching YouTube videos or reading articles online. But it feels like things haven't changed all that much lately.
But there are some standards starting to change. Even now, academic prestige still matters, right? People still choose by deviation scores, and those choosing universities now are also.
Yeah, people still think it's best to become a public servant, get a job at a big firm, or work at a listed company. That's still the general view in society.
Isn't it like this? To be honest, even if you go to a truly high-ranking university like the University of Tokyo or Kyoto University, when it comes to big companies eager to hire, they're only interested in the top-level students among those, right? I don't know if I should say this, but just because someone is from the University of Tokyo, if their grades aren't good, companies don't really want them.
In the end, there are plenty of people who are good at studying but can't actually do the job.
On the other hand,
there are also people who aren't good at studying but are great at their jobs, so it's hard to judge what really matters. That's probably why things like academic background and test scores are used as a basis for evaluation, don't you think?
Right. The main thing is these are people who have clearly put in the effort to study. But with studying, there are always answers. Whether you can find it easily is another matter. But if you look, you'll find one. Everyone can arrive at the same answer. Life isn't like that, and I think that's the reason people who are good at studying often can't actually do the job. They rely too heavily on manuals for a long time. Manuals have advantages after all, but I think that's why if there were no manuals, the number of people unable to do their jobs would increase dramatically.
I think that count rose since people can't decide alone.
They'll just say, it's not in the manual, won't they? Especially in Kanto, many are like that. Even those who did well in school by relying on manuals get by, not with a can-do spirit, but by having something to fall back on.
Yeah, that is a very common occurrence. It is much the same with school teachers, and recently it is even happening to individuals incarcerated in the prison system. I watch things like that on YouTube, and for the inmates, their entire day is already set, right? The prison officers supervise and instruct them, but even though the officers haven't committed any crimes, they're also following the same routine. Once things are decided, they just work within those boundaries. It's not exactly the same, but watching both sides, I felt like neither of them has any freedom. To me, both the prison officers and the inmates seem the same. Since there's an answer, maybe they're just following it exactly as it is, both sides. So, in that sense, I felt like there was no creativity, and maybe you could say there's no room for playfulness. Well, at least in Japan, that might be the case.
But you know, for the prison officers too, there are strict rules about what they can't do and things they're required to follow.
Maybe it's almost the same. I just hope they can make good use of their hard work and apply it effectively to what they do.
I'm not sure how that'll turn out as you rise through the ranks. Once you become an executive or lead others, those experiences might really matter. Certain things are necessary, like qualifications. For public servants, local and national roles are completely different, and you can get in without a university degree, right?
I think there are actually more restrictions than for company employees. For example, public servants can't have side jobs, and I feel like there's not that much freedom or autonomy. At least that's how I see it.
Well, there are all sorts of things like that in reality. I mean, really.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Now that I think about it, there really are all sorts of things. Even as a teacher, you interact with the kids in your own way. There are many various ways of interacting, and well, for example, truck drivers. You might have a very specific and particular image of them. Like maybe a lot of them consume quite a lot of alcohol. Public servants too, well, maybe the people I've seen are different, but I have this really vivid and strong mental image of people drinking until morning and then going to work still smelling of alcohol.
Yeah, that's also a story from that era, isn't it? Even now.
I mean, wouldn't it be enough to just set up a checkpoint in the morning where people gather?
Yeah, they'd totally get caught, and that would clean things up.
It would be better that way, right? People tend to think it's pretty lax, but actually, a lot of my relatives are public servants. In fact, public servants tend to have stricter manuals and procedures. So, as a business owner, when you want to grow your company or keep it running for a long time, creating systems becomes really important, doesn't it? The more people you have, the more crucial that is. Of course, whether manuals are good or bad is another matter, but the more you standardize things with manuals, the more you can create solid systems. Conversely, if you just follow the manual, you can keep getting promoted and advancing, and people will recognize your abilities.
You're recognized for that, right?
I think that's also true for big companies. There are a lot of people who get promoted that way. But honestly, in small and medium-sized companies, there are also plenty of people who aren't useful at all. It must be helpful, right? Even if their background is different or if they're not really suited for the job.
Everyone has their own place where they fit best, right? For me, it just so happened that I wasn't suited to being a company employee, so I felt like I had no choice but to do things on my own, and that suited me. But for some people, I think they get really anxious, like, what if I lose my job next year? There are all kinds of people, but as for my audience, they really don't care about academic background at all.
Yeah, that's right. More than that, honestly. Whether you're a student, an office worker, a business owner, or a sole proprietor, even if you don't really have much substance, there might be people who can still live out their lives fully. But whether you become friends or whatever the relationship is, it's probably because you're able to make the other person happy or satisfied that the relationship lasts a long time or that the business continues. It's about whether you're providing satisfaction, resolving dissatisfaction, or easing anxiety. It's got to be something like that. Even if it's not because they like the product or service, there are scams like those expensive vases. I wonder if those are still around, where people get tricked into buying overpriced vases and such.
That stuff probably still happens.
Even if you don't actually use it for anything, there are cases where people pay money just to relieve the anxiety that something bad might happen if they don't own it. That might be a separate issue, but in general, it's about satisfying some need or making things more convenient than before. Basically, unless it's something that brings satisfaction or convenience, money won't be generated, and relationships with people won't last either. So I don't think studying has anything to do with that.
That's true. Study.
While what you learn from studying can certainly be a significant advantage in terms of knowledge, people who are considered to have lower academic backgrounds often tend to spend that time differently. They have a unique set of life experiences.
I get the impression that delinquents, as they get older, become really kind and caring, like dependable big brothers. Is that the kind of thing you mean? If you look at it that way...
Maybe it's just that they've had different experiences, and it shows for better or worse. In our case, we don't really care. Right now, there are many people with only a junior high education, or who are high school dropouts. I only know a few of them simply because I don't pay much attention to that.
Now that you mention it, I did drop out.
I do remember things like that, but to be perfectly honest, there's no need to remember them. If you've actually worked together for years, you don't really have a need for that kind of information.
If they're performing well, that's what counts.
We've seen their work so far.
It seems like it'll take some time for society as a whole to move in that direction, but with this labor shortage. In the first place, the Japanese population is declining, and if we want to maintain things under these circumstances, using academic background as the only screening criterion, I get the sense that hiring policies like that will eventually disappear.
You know, everyone is aware of this. Just like we've been talking about, what you study in school and what you actually do in society are different. Whether that's right or wrong, I don't know, but for a long time, many people have felt that way. Still, this academic background-based society has kept people from saying it out loud. On the other hand, if things like robots and AI really develop from here on out, even though the population is decreasing, we might actually end up with a surplus of people, so who knows what will happen.
Yeah, we really don't know. If it gets to the point where you can just do what you love,
Then this country could become a place where you can actually make a living that way. It's clearly different from academic background, but we're already seeing things like this happening, aren't we? You know, there's skills and knowledge that people who produce tangible results have, right? For companies hiring or for employers looking to recruit, there are clear indicators, like asking someone to do a test project or create a demonstration. In that sense, you can sell your skills, so to speak. Being ready to contribute is always valuable, no matter the era.
that much is absolutely certain, I think.
But well, just like with an academic background, if you talk to someone and they seem like they can't do anything, then regardless of their education, at that point it's already extremely difficult to assign them any kind of tasks.
People who say, "I'll do anything you ask," aren't needed. They say, "Just tell me what to do. I'll do anything." But they don't listen or think for themselves and take initiative. That's a problem.
If that's the case, then someone has to be assigned to supervise that person.
And you have to constantly think about that person's work.
But you know, even when following orders, there are still people who get dissatisfied. Then you have to spell out every single thing for them. That's a negative for you, isn't it? They don't even realize they're dissatisfied. Dissatisfaction.
I don't think people with the mindset of just doing what they're told can ever break out of it. They've been doing it that way for so long, so unless something happens, I don't think they can change. It's not like they're stepping outside their own sense of normal.
Unless they think differently or something major happens, they won't realize or even imagine it.
I believe if you are unable to imagine it, you can't change it.
Up until now, since the period of rapid economic growth, there were always more and more jobs and there were so many opportunities. Back in those days, I think there were quite a lot of people who could make it to retirement and receive their pension. Of course, even now, there are probably still some companies where that is possible, but it's definitely more difficult. If you're at a company where you only do what you are told, or in an organization that says don't do anything except what we've assigned you, then maybe you can still get by that way. But I wonder if you can really provide value in that situation. I think it is also difficult to find or encounter a place where that kind of value is still relevant.
It doesn't seem like many places like that exist now. I wonder. What I can say is, I don't think I'm the type to work alone.
Yep.
But I wonder if it'd feel suffocating in its own way, maybe not.
I don't know. If you were really troubled by that, would something change?
Me.
But then, if I'm saying things like this, what am I actually capable of? I mean, I'm talking about other people, but what can I do myself?
In the end, I feel like having an academic background doesn't really mean much.
I think so too. Some places will always require academic credentials, and that's just how it is.
Yeah, university.
But universities are gradually shutting down, and the number of students is decreasing because there aren't enough children. That's why people think it's better to have a university degree. Everyone is taking out student loans. These days, I think only about 1 in 4 students don't use them. Most people rely on student loans. Even going that far, spending so many years, is it really something you can make use of when you enter society? I mean, that's the basic question. And among the many different universities, there are various rankings and different fields of study. In the end, it's probably only a very small number of people who can actually make practical use of what they studied there. So,
It seems wasteful to limit things just because of that. I get that.
from the company's side, I don't know if it's a waste to narrow things down, but maybe it's easier to just apply a filter, like by law or something.
It might be significantly easier that way, but in the end, if that results in missed opportunities, there's also the risk that you won't be able to hire good people.
Starting salaries still differ based on graduating from junior high, high school, or university, right?
for us.
It is exactly the same situation for us, but then whether you can actually get a raise or not is dependent on that, right? As long as that is how the system works, the people who have to be hired or chosen within that organization have to use that as a standard. So I guess that is necessary as well. And as long as there are organizations like that, having a strong academic background will continue to be in demand.
That's probably how it is. Because of that, if annual income differs significantly between high school and university graduates, then people will aim to get a university degree too, right? They'll go for it.
You know, for a long time, there have actually been cases where people who only graduated from junior high or high school increased sales and profits and did really well. But if you don't have a university degree, you can't get promoted beyond a certain position. Before you know it, people who didn't make the effort to study end up falling behind. In a way, you could say that's the benefit of putting in the effort to study and getting results. But still, the answer is, I don't know.
It's all just personal opinions anyway.
Yeah.
That's true. It's hard to say for sure.
There's never been a clear answer, you know. Neither Japan nor anywhere else in the world has a country that's completely figured it out and succeeded.
Yeah, at that time.
Being able to adapt to the changes of each era is something people have said for a long time. Those who keep up are likely the ones who thrive. It's the same with academic background, isn't it? It may become not as necessary. A time might come when grandparents tell their grandchildren, back in the day, there was something called academic background.
There's a very good chance of that happening. Actually, it really feels like it's coming quite soon.
All we can do is focus on what's right in front of us. Thank you for today as well.
Thank you very much.
At Koei Transport, we are looking for experienced and dedicated drivers. If you are interested, please take a moment to visit our recruitment site or corporate website linked in the description, and we would really appreciate your application.